Hello everyone, welcome back to SQL Edge, your go-to channel to master SQL Server with real-world examples. In today's video, we are going to talk about one of the most frequently used concept in a SQL Server, the aggregate functions. Right, whenever we need to have reports, summaries, or dashboards, the aggregate functions plays a key role. Whether you are calculating the total sales, minimum salary, or like maximum discount, average, we can say the discount, or number of active users, number of employees within an organization, right? Average salary for each department, count of employees within each department. So for all these calculations, we use the aggregate functions. Basically, aggregate functions will works on a set of rows, right? It will calculate the values from multiple rows and it will give you a summarized data, right? So the output of the aggregate function will be always a single value, right? So there are five very important aggregate functions we have in a SQL Server. Those are like count, sum, mean, max, and average. So let's see one by one. Right, we will continue with our existing table employee data, which contains employees information like name, gender, hire date, birth date, salary, and email. Right, so this is what we have in our data set. Here is our data set is look like. We have 20 employees working in a different departments with varying salaries and joining dates, right? So salaries and joining date are of each employees are different, right? Let's now see how aggregate functions help HR and management team to extract the meaningful insights from this data. Right, let's jump into the demo. The very first aggregate function is a count, right? So count is used to counting the records, right? This is a very short description I have given here. Count is used to counting the records, right? So the count function is used when you want to know how many items or how many records, how many rows are exist in a given data sets. For example, the HR department might ask, right, how many employees do we have in a company, right? So let's say this is holding a whole company's data and you want to know how many employees we have. We don't want to see the detailed data like employee ID, salary, gender, email, and all. We just want to see a single count value, right? How many employees are there within a organization, within a company. So you use this count function, right? So this is a general syntax I have written. Select count in bracket, either we can write star, either we can write one, or either we can have a specific column name. Then we can give alias name from table name. Okay, with the same example we will go. We want to know how many employees are there in a company. So select count of star as total employees from employee data, right? So when I run this, we will get the number of employees as a total employees and the count is 20. So count will calculate the number of rows within a partition or within a set of data, right? So instead of star, we can use one as well. This will give you the same result, or we can use a particular column name as well. Let's say employee ID. So employee ID. So it will count the employee IDs within the table. It will give you the 20 count again, right? So this will give you the total number of employees in a table. If you want to use a column instead of count, okay, let's say we are using this column name and I want to see the count of employees only for the employees where the salary is greater than 5,000. So we can filter that again where salary is greater than 5,000. So it will give me the total number of employees whose salary is more than 5,000, and all the employees are having salary more than 5,000. We can just increase the limit 50,000 we will make, and we will see the count. Again, the same employees we are having. Let's do these to 50,000 just to see if we get the varying result, right? Now we could see, so it is now filtering the data first and then it is counting the records. So first it is filtering the data with where plus and then it is counting the employees whose salary is more than 50,000. Right, there is one more thing we are having. If you use a column name inside a count, it counts only a non-null value, right? What is mean by this? Right, so with this example we are saying we are getting total 20 employees. But let's use some another column and we'll see the email here, right? So when I use count of email, I will get 90 record. Now why it is happening? For that, we just want to see the data from the employee data table. So in the employee data table, we have one record where employee is equal to 12, which does not have any email value. It is having null, right? So null will not be considered while counting the number of records. That is what it is saying. The count function returns the number of rows in a table or non-null values within a column. So now we are using the email column, and in the email we have one row as a null value in an email field, right? That's why that row, particular row, is not considered while counting the number of records, right? So that's the difference. So count of star will count all the rows, but count of column ignores the null values. The small difference is important in real reporting scenario, so keep in mind. Second aggregate function we have for today is a sum function. Sum is used to adding the values, right? So adding the values in the sense, if let's say we have 10 rows, so the values from all the 10 rows will be added into, and then we will get a summarized result, right? So the sum function is used for calculating the totals. For example, let's say the finance department might want to know what is the total monthly salary expense for the company. So let's say they just want to see how many or how much salary we are spending on all the employees. So we can use the sum, and then we can use the column name. So sum of salary as total salary from the particular table. It will give you the total salary for all the employees. We can use the where clause to filter. This will give you the total salary for male employees. This will give the total salaries for female employees, right? If you are trying to use some column which is not a numeric value, right? So email, we cannot add the values from the email 1 plus email 2 plus email 3. No, we can add salary 1 5,000 plus salary 2 10,000 plus salary 3, like let's again 7,000. So the sum function will be like useful when the column is having the numeric values, right? So it is important the column should have the numeric data type, right? In the numeric we can have integer, big integer, small integer, numeric, decimal, or any like money data type as well, right? So that's all about the sum function. So we can filter the data using where clause as well in any of the function like count or sum. We don't like it is not dependent on the function. The where clause is separate clause we can use to filter the data before the aggregation, right? So the sum is used to adding the values from multiple rows. The next function we have for today is a average function. The average is finding the average. We know average, we have learned this in mathematics in a basics, right? In our primary or like secondary schools. So average is nothing but it is finding out the total of all the rows and dividing by the number of rows, right? So the average function calculates the average of a numeric column value. Again, this average functions also need to have a numeric column values only, right? It works on a numeric columns only, right? So let's say I want to see the average salary from the company. We can use average of salary as average salary from employee data, right? If you want to filter, you want to see the average salary for male employees, we can filter with male. If you want to see the average salaries for the female employees, then you can filter with female as well, right? Female employees, it will give you the average salary within a company for the female employees, right? So the average, this will give you a single value representing the average salary, right? We can use it for budgeting or comparing the salary structures between the team, right? So we can see like what is the difference of salaries, average salaries we are having between the male employees, female employees. We can do this partition based on the departments as well. Like this is the average salary for HR department, this is the average salary for finance department, this is the average salary for IT department, and we can decide the budget or comparison. We in the sense the HR department can do this comparison. The next function we have for today is a minimum. So minimum, as the name suggests, mean, right? The mean is used to get the minimum value from a particular column, right? So the mean function returns the smallest or earliest value from a column, right? So it is asking like smallest or earliest. So this can be used on like date columns or numeric columns as well, right? So date, if you use this on a date column, it will give you the earliest date, right? So hire date is nothing but who is hired first in the company, right? So this is the employee who is hired, right? We can just add the column EID as well, employee ID. Okay, for that we need to use the group by clause. We have not seen that, but the only the minimum function we are going to show. So this is the minimum of hire date we have from the company. We can use the where clause to filter the data, right? When we use this with a numeric column, it will give you the smallest value. So minimum salary we have in the employees table is 48,000, right? So this is how we can use the minimum function. Minimum function helps you to find the lowest or the earliest value, right? So for example, if HR is asking like what's the minimum salary we pay and who's our earliest to join the employees, right? So that way we can use the minimum function. Right, in real scenarios, we might use this to identify if someone is being paid below the market standards, right? Or to find out the annual, like what we say, the anniversaries of the employees from the joining dates and all, right? Similar to find the person who joined the company, useful when celebrating the work anniversaries, we can use this minimum function. The next function we have in aggregate is a max function. So the max function gives you the largest value, right? This is opposite to the minimum. Max is nothing but it is getting the maximum or the largest value, right? So the max function returns the largest or the most recent value in a column, right? Also, if you have the salary column, the max function will return the value which is the maximum within the Q1 table, right? If you are looking for the higher date, it will give you the latest higher date, right? So both column I'm using together here, and we will get the, this is the highest salary and this is the latest higher date from the given employee data, right? So this particular query will show both the highest paid salary and the date of the most recent hire, right? So this type of data is often shown in the dashboards for analytics in a Power BI reports or SSRS reports as well. Right, on most of the reports or the dashboard shows the multiple summary numbers together. Let's say I want to see the maximum salary, minimum salary, average salary, sum of the total salaries and count of employees within the table. So we can use the multiple aggregate functions together as well, right? So below I have the query where I'm using all the aggregate functions. We can see I'm using count to get the number of employees. I'm using sum of the salary to get the total salary. I'm using average salary to get the average salary within the company, minimum salary to find out the minimum value for the salary, and maximum salary to get the highest paid employee. So all functions I can use together to find out the aggregated result set. And in the result, we can see it is total employees, total salary, average salary, minimum salary, and maximum salary. So this particular result will give you the total number of employees, total payroll, right? Average salary, minimum and maximum salaries within the company. In real-world reporting systems, such summaries appear at the top of the dashboard, like total employees, average salaries, and all, right? So just to summarize what we have learned today, we have seen the aggregate functions, which are very important while calculating the summarized data. Some of the five important aggregate functions we have seen: count used to find number of rows, sum used to find total values, average to calculate the average, then minimum to find the smallest value, and maximum to find the largest value, right? So these functions are everywhere: payroll reports, sales dashboards, attender systems, and even analytics tools like Power BI or SSRS. In the next video we will cover up some of the important mathematical functions, okay, and then we will look about the group by and having clause, where we will group the data by particular column to see which employee is having minimum salary, which employee is having maximum salary, right? Then who is the employee who joined earlier, because right now we cannot see this minimum salary belongs to which employee. So we will see group by, and we will see how to find out the employee who belongs to this minimum salary. Right, that's all for the today. If you found this session helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to SQL Age. Your support helps us to keep creating more practical SQL tutorials for you. See you soon in the next video. Right, thank you all.